So, prime London rental market is cooling in 2026 after many, many years of rapid growth. This shift is largely driven by tax changes that we've constantly been talking about on this channel, and that affects the residents. It affects the landlords. It affects everybody. These tax changes that are happening, and the compliance changes as well. So in today's video, I'm going to explain what's really happening and what it means for us as investors in 2026. So let's get into it. Greg Parker here from Parker's Property Sourcing, just coming at you with another video today. And today we're going to talk about the changes that are happening within prime London, and and the properties and the investors and even people that aren't investors that just own property in London. And when I say prime London, I typically mean areas like Mayfair, your Belgravia, your Chelsea, your Kensington, areas where you'd love to, own a piece of property, to be honest. I would anyway. These markets are heavily influenced by international tenants and wealth flows. They behave very differently from the wider UK rental market. So differently. So why prime rents are cooling down? Changes to the UK's non-dom tax regime have reduced demand from wealthy overseas tenants, for sure. Some high net worth individuals are relocating or renegotiating rents, and this has softened the demand in the luxury rental segment in London. So the rental demand hasn't disappeared, it hasn't gone away, it's just shifted. So it's not collapsing, it's just shifted. And it's moving more towards your short-term lets, your serviced accommodations, and that you've seen a massive increase in interest in people trying to acquire properties now that way in London. And this is because tenants are becoming more price sensitive and more flexible. So these people with all this money that can afford to be renting in your Belgravias, your Kensington and stuff like that, they want to be a bit more flexible now. So they like the idea of doing short-term lets for 3 months in a property in Chelsea, for example, as opposed to being bogged down to a long-term let for 2 years. So that's part of how the market in prime London is changing right now. So saying that, what effect or what impact on rental prices does it have for landlords that own in prime London? Well, I would say prime rents are stabilising and are falling in some postcodes, to be fair. So incentives and longer void periods are becoming more common in prime London. So this contrasts with strong rental pressure in non-prime areas as well, So what this means is luxury buy-to-let now requires sharper pricing and expectations. Return on investment focused strategies may outperform capital-only plays. So you can't really be, honing in on, I want to invest in London just purely for capital growth, because you might be losing money on a monthly basis at a very fast rate as well. So you got to learn, if you are investing in London, prime London, you need to start to understand your tenant profiles, because that's very, very critical in the shift that's happening, in this prime location market. So what are the risks and opportunities? I put here reading the market correctly. And over leveraging in prime areas is an increased risk, I would say. So again, I don't invest in London, but it's always good to touch on it because it's the number one area, in the UK. It's the capital. Opportunities may exist for cash buyers or repositioning assets, that's an opportunity for sure. This is a market for experienced investors, not speculative investors. So if you're an experienced investor, definitely still a market for you. If you're somebody that's quite speculative or new to it or doesn't have that capital, I would stay as far away from it as possible right now, to be honest. And my final thoughts on this is prime London is resetting. It's not collapsing. Policy changes can quickly reshape niche markets, which we're seeing, as I said, talking about more serviced accommodation is going to become more prominent in London, short-term lets. So, we've got to be mindful of that. In the next video, I'm going to talk about buy-to-let performance as a whole, in the whole of the UK, specifically areas that I'm invested in as well, and how it's performing in this first couple of months in 2026 and how I feel like it's going to perform for the rest of the year, So again, really hope you've enjoyed today's video. I've been Craig Parker. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you again next time.